Hello everyone, it's Shel from Paper Rock Studio, and today I'm sharing with you my Mission Inspiration Challenge Mixed Media Art Journal page that I did for the Mike Deacon group on Facebook. You can go over there and search for Mission Inspiration if you'd like to join into this monthly challenge. It has 8 steps, and then it has 3 colors that you can use, and then it has some words that can inspire you. So since there's only 8 steps, I decided, of course, in the last few times to try to go with the color scheme, which this time is buttermilk, warm gray, and peach. So those are the colors I'm going to try to stick to, and then use the 8 steps. And then the word that I'm being inspired by is smooth. And that's going to lead into a little peek inside my brain and how these things work. When I saw the word smooth, I had just been on Thursday night. I was on I went to a concert, and it was Matchbox 20. And Matchbox 20, the lead singer, he sings a song with Santana called Smooth. And it's probably one of my favorite songs that Rob Thomas has ever sang. I love that song. They didn't do it at the concert, and so I guess because it's probably a Santana song. So the first step in the challenge was to cover your page with book text fragments. And so I printed out the words to the song Smooth from Santana with Rob Thomas. And I collaged those onto my page, and then also some tissue paper that has music notes on it because I thought that was appropriate. So my first inspiration for the page was this song Smooth, and I thought that I mean, I'm not sure anyone else when they think of the word smooth necessarily thinks of the song, but that's what I thought of, and then it leads on to other things which we'll go into later. But anyway, the second step was to add a thin wash of paint, and so I used the gray, what's it called? It's from Dilutions. It's a gray color. And I applied it with a baby wipe because that's a really great way to add a wash of color without making it too thick and heavy and covering up your whatever's in the background. The third step was to stamp over your page with ink or paint. So I used a gel plate to make a acrylic paint ink pad to stamp some peach and buttermilk colored flowers all over the background. And then the fourth step was to add 1 or more focal images. So you see this mural right here. There's a line in the song that says, "My Mona Quita, my Spanish Harlem Mona Lisa." And I thought to myself about Spanish Harlem, which is also El Barrio in New York, and all the art that is everywhere in that section of New York. There's murals everywhere, street art. And so that song is kind of about the people in that area, or, you know, it's got that beat. Da, 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 da. You know what I'm saying? So I thought about that mural, and so I went and got a picture of it, and then I'm drawing the dancing girl. My interpretation, obviously, is not going to be exactly the same because that artist is not me, and I'm not that artist. So I started out with a water-soluble kind of a rust-colored pencil because the background is so dark that it'd be hard to draw on it. With my graphite pencil, I would, you know, the background's gray, the graphite's gray, I wouldn't be able to see. So I started with that pencil, kind of drew a basic idea of the shape that I wanted, and then I painted over that with gesso, white gesso, to give myself an area in which to color. And as I did that, I went over the water-soluble pencil, which then kind of blends in to the white and you don't really see it anymore. And then once that was completely dry, I came in with my regular drawing pencil, which is graphite, soft graphite, and a mechanical pencil, and kind of gave myself details again. Obviously, this part of the video is sped up quite a bit because that's a lot of drawing lines, and I would not be able to fit all that into a 20-minute video. So then once I was happy with my details, I went ahead and started the coloring in using water-soluble crayons. These are the Neocolor 2 crayons, my favorite ones. There are other brands, but Neocolor 2 is just really the best. Of course, I will link all the products that I used in the description box below so that you can find them on Amazon. Remember, those are links that do earn me a little bit of money, a few cents if you use them. So I'm always happy when people use my Amazon links because that does help keep me in paint a little bit, sort of, kind of. So I want this girl to have that warm skin tone that is what people like Latin American people have. I mean, they've got such a beautiful skin tone. Different tones, obviously, but the one that I'm thinking of is almost kind of reddish. I don't know, it's beautiful. So I started out with this kind of a terracotta colored crayon, blended that in, and I'm using titanium white acrylic paint mixed with water on my little plate palette over there to blend the color, to blend the water soluble crayons. And this it makes it a smoother blend over the gesso because it's got a little bit of that viscosity from the paint, very watered down paint. Also lightens it up a little bit, and it just helps blend. It's much nicer of a blend when you're doing that than trying to blend this, basically what is a watercolor in a crayon form, over gesso. It doesn't blend very well unless you have some sort of a medium to help you. Also, it makes it more permanent because then it dries with that a little bit of acrylic in it. Another option, if you don't want to use white paint, which lightens up the color a little bit, you could use matte medium in the fluid format or some glazing medium. Those would also be great options to do this technique with, but I just end up using the cheap titanium white paint most often, and I put water on it with my spray bottle and blend it. So once I wanted to wait for the two colors of the skin tone to dry, I moved on to the dress, and I used a very pale yellow, which would be the buttermilk color of the color choices, the color palette that was for this challenge, to do the base of the dress. And then I'm using some, it's a color called orange yellow, which is my version of peach. Peach is a little bit more pink than this, so I do end up adding some pink as well to give you the idea of a peach color. The color names are relative, the color choices are relative, but I'm going with the colors that I think fit with this palette. So now I'm putting in a little bit of pink in the center of each circle, just trying to make a fun patterned dress for this girl to dance in. And it obviously has a very full skirt, and she's lifting it up and twirling her body around, trying to create movement in the dress by making it swirl and twirl around. So that was the concept, inspired by the mural that I show you in that picture. I don't know that the artist that painted that mural. I'm sorry. I would give them credit if I did. It was a picture that someone took who was visiting the area and took the picture. So then instead of going in with reds on her face and lips, I did more of like a orange color. It's a reddish orange, orangish red color. And I used that on the lips and the cheeks, and then also in some of the little beads. She's got a bead necklace on that's twirling around as she twirls. Again, trying to show movement. And I used straight up yellow and then some like kind of limey green as well for the beads. And to apply that to create that color, I'm rubbing the crayon on my deli paper and picking it up with the brush with a little bit of that painty water. So then I'm going to put black lines and shadows on. There is thick black lines around the drawing on the mural, which of course would have been painted onto a brick wall. And I'm going to blend, I'm using my Stabilo All pencil and blending it with water to activate it. And then that also helps with any overzealousness of the white gesso. When I put the white gesso on, I used a pretty big brush and some of it splashes over my lines, and then now there's this like white halo around my image. I didn't want that, so then when I blend out the Stabilo All pencil, which is a highly water reactive pencil, it helps take care of that white halo around the image. It's very helpful. Of course, to keep the, I I should start my outlining at the top and work my way down, but I never do. I always forget, and then I start the outlining at the bottom, and then I have this wet pencil in which to put my hand into to smear it all over the place. So I just got a piece of scratch paper and put it over that area where my hand could rest so that I can keep the pencil stable by resting my hand on the page without smearing the black everywhere. If I could just remember to start at the top and work my way down, I wouldn't have to do that. Or maybe I would, but you know what I'm saying. It's silly. It's just silly for me to do it that way. What can you do? So then I do end up adding a little bit of a darker red color and then blotting it back because I didn't really like the pure orange. I wanted it to be a little bit redder on her face and also some white highlights. So when I was taking the close-up pictures that you'll see at the end, I noticed that there's quite a bit of bubbling on her face. It makes it kind of look like she's got acne. She's got pimples. But what that is, I think, is the acrylic paint stamping with the flowers. I stamped all over the page. I think that's what it is that caused the raised areas on her face that you can't see them now, but then when you see the close-ups at the end, you'll see them, and it's like, oh, she has pimples. She doesn't really. It's just bubbled up paint underneath the paint that I put over the top. That's what happens when you layer things. It's not a big deal. So I decided to go ahead and add some black pencil into her dress to bring out that pattern a little bit more because it was very in the background. It was not very bright colors. If I wasn't sticking with the buttermilk warm gray peach tones here, I would have made her dress extremely colorful and bright because it should be, it wouldn't be this pale in reality, but I was, challenged by keeping in with these colors. So I gave her some gold earrings, gold hoop earrings with a Posca pin. That's a gold metallic Posca pin, and added a little bit of that to the beads. And then just adding a few more details with a very, very small nib of my illustration pins. Those are the Faber-Castell pit pins. That's the extra small, very tiny. And her face is very tiny in comparison to everything else. So I needed to use a small, small pin instead of a pencil to do those details. And then a little bit of brown color for her eyes. She would have brown eyes, black hair. And some catch lights with the white Posca pen. These are just little details, little fussy things that you do. So then on to the next step. Add washi tape or patterned paper strips. I have this washi tape from Japan that I ordered on Amazon. It came in a set of multiple colors, like maybe 12 different colors, and it's a narrow washi tape. I don't use it very often. It's not patterned. It's just a solid color. But for this project, I had the exact colors, a warm gray, a buttermilk yellow, and a peach. So I decided to use these to just kind of start that brick textured look on the background. Excuse me. And do it in a little bit of color, giving the idea that this is a brick wall. I'm not sure that it really does, but it does add some interesting texture in the background. I did probably really need to use some matte medium with this tape because it started to curl up already. So I'll probably put a whole coat of something over this. The original page that I started with was very grungy looking. It's the second to the last one left in this book. So after I do the pick a stick challenge at the end of the month, this art journal will be full and I can give you guys a flip through. But next step was to add texture paste through a stencil. So I found a brick background stencil. I think this is a Diane Reevely stencil. I'm not sure, but I'll look it up. And using crackle paste, which I then dry with the heat tool, which makes it not really as crackly as it would be if I had just left it to dry. That's one thing is if you're going to dry it with the heat tool, you're going to lose a lot of the crackle. But it does add back in that idea of a brick wall that this mural has been painted over. I kind of smeared the one on the left when I put the stencil over the top to do the one on the right upper. But oh well, it's just an art journal page. It's not going into a museum anywhere. So number 7, add splatters, drips, or runs. I decided to add some splatters, and I got a couple of the Tattered Angels chalkboard mists out in like a terracotta color and a yellow, and just added a few splatters over the background for fun. And then number 8 was to paint, ink, or doodle a border or frame. I didn't really want a border on this because it's supposed to be a brick wall, and brick walls wouldn't have borders. So I just decided to do like a simple scratchy line with a Posca pen, just because I have to, not because I wanted to. I don't think that I would have bordered this had I not had to do that step. But that's how these challenges go. So to finish up my page, I added some white highlights, and I do end up writing a word up in the upper left, and that's about it for the page. If you're enjoying this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment so I know you were here. Subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to turn on your notification bell if you really want to be notified, because if you don't, you will only get some notifications from my channel. And yeah, share if you want to. I'm going to post this in the Facebook group Mission Inspiration, which is Mike Deacon's group, and that's where I'm going to share it with. So yep, the final thing is I wrote the word Mona Lisa, because the Spanish Harlem Mona Lisa line from the song, which I would play for you, except for I can't because it's not free music. It would have been really great if I could play it on the background of this, but I can't because it's not free music. So that's it for me. Here comes your close-ups. Bye-bye.